Hey, welcome back to True-Moto-Resto, and on today's video we're going to be refinishing some Honda CB350 bodywork. But I don't think we're going to refinish these because the gentleman that owns them is thinking that maybe we want to try to leave these original, maybe just try to do a little bit of touch-up. We'll see what kind of a paint match we can get for this. This is a Tri-Candy Pearl. I think it's called Flake Matador Red, and Honda created this in much the same way as they did with the Candy Illusion Blue, which is a silver base coat with a candy red and then the clear coat over top. But let's go take a look at the set of bodywork that I will be painting. So here is the tank and the side panels that I will be doing for sure. There's a huge dent in the tank here. There's a dent on the top here. There's a pretty huge dent right here on the side. This is quite large. This tank obviously has faded really badly, and you can see how the red candy is faded, and you can see the silver metallic paint underneath. But yeah, it's definitely taken a hit on the side here. All the paint has kind of fractured and splintered here. So it's taken a pretty big hit right here in the side. So that's pushed in probably ½ inch. That's in a good ½ inch in there. It's somewhere, whatever that gap is. The first challenge on this is going to be removing these badges. They're on, there's two plastic pins that go through some sort of a hole in the tank, and you basically have to just gently ease these things off so you don't snap them. And the best way to do that is to put something down in the back here like this, and then just gently twist slowly. You don't want to put it on the outside here because the pin is back here kind of between the H and the O, and that'll end up just bending the H out this way if you kind of use it at this side. So it's better to put it down in between this way and then just kind of work it kind of in this kind of a motion. And then you just slowly start to twist it just a little bit. There you go. There's the Honda badge removed. Just got to be careful. That's all. There's the other one. So yeah, I would highly recommend, if you go to like I got these at Canadian Tire years ago. These are just cheap plastic trim removal tools for automotive use. But in the case of removing these Honda badges, once you get a bit of a gap worked up with one of those, you can quite easily move this, and you can basically, what you want to do is you want to slide it behind the pin like that, right? So the pin fits in that groove, and then you can get nice even pressure. And then it I even use this side here, put it down and it just pops right out. The side panel badges come off quite easily, and the way I find the best technique to get these off is on the back side there's these little push stars. So if you kind of what I do here, it's kind of hard to do it and film at the same time, but you can actually move them up. If you take the two that are right next to each other and just give them a little like that. Now I got to remove this mechanism here, which is basically just it's like a screw head here with basically like a roll pin of some sort. So I guess there must be a slot on the frame of the bike. This is spring loaded. So basically you have to kind of load this spring up and push this pin out, and then the whole assembly will come out. Another challenge, I've never pulled a dent this size, so first time for everything. Okay, so there's the dent. I've outlined it with a black Sharpie, and I've done that only because I just kind of want to be able to, whatever tools I'm going to use, whether it's this one or whether it's something like this, or you know, a slide hammer or whatever, I want to make sure that I'm kind of positioning to pull. I don't want to put the pads in the low area, right? I want to try to set these things up so that they're kind of out there or out here, and obviously it's gonna be hard to do this with one hand, but the point being, you want the outside pads for this to be sitting on the outside, kind of like that. And maybe what I'll try to do is to kind of work my way from the outside to the middle. So I think what I've seen and learned from watching some professionals do dent repair, a lot of times with the bigger dents, the first thing you want to pull back out is the last part that bent in. So typically if you've got a hit that's like right in the middle here, the middle is the first part that's going to get pushed in, and then it's going to get followed by the stuff around the outside. So logically, if you want to reverse that process, you kind of pull from the outside and kind of work your way into the middle. So that's, I think, what I'm going to try to do here. All right, so there's going to be my first 3 pulls there. I'm going to probably do this one first, and I'll come down here, and then this is just going to be the first pull on the top. Of course, if you've seen the dent removal process before, a bunch of my other videos, it's just very repetitive. So these, you kind of work these with the tool, you kind of squeeze, you don't just kind of grab it and pull, you kind of work it and move the metal out slowly. And ultimately these things will pop off and you'll have to take the adhesive off and glue them back on again. So it's a lengthy, repetitive process, but it's way, way better than filling these things with body filler. So yeah, you basically just kind of want to gently work the metal. This is not about one giant squeeze to pop it out, it's about gently in this spot. When it popped, it actually took the paint right off it, because the paint here has all been shattered. So it, not surprisingly, it pulled the paint off, moving quite a bit. I just had some really good progress here. So I was pulling down here, and all of a sudden it just rippled all the way up here and just pulled right out. So it was, you can actually see the whole upper section there moving again now. It was much more isolated before, but whatever tension was built up in the steel there has kind of relaxed quite a bit, so that's good. All right, so it's getting much, much, much better. This right here now is coming real nice, but I still have a little, right where my thumb is running here, there's kind of a little dish there. This area now. So before I was out here, that was the dent area that started off with the dotted line. All right, so I'm moving on to now smaller pulling tabs here, just because I'm getting the dent out a little bit at a time. I'm also using this profile gauge. I'm taking the profile off the back side here at different places, and then basically flipping it over and transferring it over this way. So that way you can see where I've got these things marked here. So there is actually a low spot right here. So I've been able to pull all of this out successfully, and now I need to kind of, once I get these last ones out of here, I need to move over and start to pull that out a little bit more, because this is slightly convexed here, and right now it's quite flat, or maybe slightly concave. But all right, this could be the last pull. I am really, really happy with how this dent came out. I cannot believe I was able to get that out. And this is a very inexpensive Amazon PDR set. Comes in all of these plastic tabs and the glue gun, and you've seen them in some of my other videos before. And what an incredible job it does. So there we go, the dent is out. There's a couple of imperfections you can feel in there, but I don't mind a little bit of filler to deal with that. Dent in the top is almost completely gone. So my next problem is going to be how to remove the pins that hold the gas tank cap hardware on. So these are the pins that have to come out, and they have to go out that way. So these have basically been put through them. The ends have been flared out or peened somehow. Same with this one. I don't want to drill them because then I'm going to lose the ability to peen it back over again. So I'm going to have to see if I can get something that'll fit inside the end there. And I can drive it through and maybe just kind of fold these things back, and then I can peen them back over when they go back in. So the next step here is just basically stripping off all the paint in the area where I'm going to put some filler. So now the paint's stripped off, I'm going to sand this back now, rough it all up with like a 40 grit on the top as well. I'm going to take some of the paint back here as well, but I just wanted to get the main area completely clear of paint where the filler is going to basically stay, and the rest of it I'll sort of sand it back in and around here. All this is going to get sanded down anyway because you can feel where the pinstriping was. So yeah, it'll all get sanded back, and then I can put some filler on it. I did get the cap and whatnot off without too much difficulty, so that was good. So I've just finished sanding this again. I did put some rust converter on it, but now that was just kind of get into any of the spots that I was concerned about not getting out with the sander. But I've sanded everything, feathered it back a little bit just in case I get any filler on that sort of painted area. And the plan now is I'm going to put a bit of filler on there, but I'm going to try something a little different. I'm trying to educate myself and get a little bit better at my body work, because the mistake I've been making for years, for as long as since I was 16 and had my first car, I've been making this mistake. I would put the body filler on, like mix it as everybody does, put the body filler on, come back the next day and start sanding, and it's like concrete, right? It takes forever to sand it, and apparently that's not what you're supposed to do. There's a kind of an ideal flash time, I guess, depending on the particular filler and how much hardener you put with it and whatnot. But, you know, it's in the region of, you know, minutes, not hours, that depending on the temperature and all that kind of stuff, that you can actually start working the body filler. And so I've watched a couple of YouTube videos on it just to kind of get the feel for, you know, how do you know when it's ready? Is it still slightly tacky with the body filler? Does it start to ball up when you start to, you know, work it a little bit with the sandpaper or with the cheese grater? If it does any of those things, I guess it's a little bit too soon, but I'm going to try to do this in a way that, you know, I'm not waiting a day and then sanding body filler that's hard as concrete, and hopefully it'll make the process go a little bit easier. I also treated myself to a cheese grater. This is kind of to take off any of the real high spots where you kind of get the lines and the marks from putting the filler on with the spreader. And I'm hoping that'll help me out a little bit as well. These are not expensive, but I thought I'd give one of these a try, and we'll see how that goes. So there's my first coat of filler. We'll see how that feels once it starts to tack up a little bit. I didn't get the kind of the ideal technique. It didn't work as well as I had hoped. I need more practice at it. But basically, what I was trying to do to get the kind of the convex pattern here is I was trying to kind of bending my applicator as I was spreading to try to get it. So I'm holding it kind of like this, pushing with my thumb, and then working it this way. So that started to work okay, but then I also kind of went back to feather the edges out a little bit, because that's the other thing I try to do, so it isn't a pain in the ass doing the edges there. So I expect I'm going to have to come back and put a little bit more in the middle. I'm going to knock down some of these ridges here with that cheese grater when it dries, and down here, and then I'll put another layer on. Second layer, still got a few marks in there from the spreader, but it's not too bad. I did manage to sand it before it got too rock hard, so that was good. Definitely a lot easier to do it that way. Okay, third coat. And then basically what I'm doing is a little bit of a low spot here where it transitions to the scalloped edge, and it's quite useful. I've been using the profile gauge basically to find where I need to sand more down, or in this case where I need to add a little bit more filler. So you know it's a little premature on the sanding when you can see kind of here, it's kind of starts to ball up. Instead of creating a powder, you kind of get these little rolls or balls, and then it also starts to clog up the, right there is where I was using it. It clogs up the sandpaper. So I've got my my filler, my first, I guess, attempt, I'll call it, at getting everything to the right contour. I'm not quite hitting the metal there, but real close. And then anything I need to fix from here, I'm going to be using the Evercoat Spotlight surface putty. The filling and sanding looks to be pretty much finished, and there is the first real coat of primer filler, high build primer. So I'll let that dry, and then after that's dried off, I'm going to basically sand off kind of the rest of the areas where the pinstriping was, sand the entire tank, and more than likely I end up going down to bare metal in a number of these spots, so then I'll hit that with self-etching primer. And then once everything has been sanded, I'll just basically prime the entire tank. So everything has been primed, sanded and primed. I basically sanded everything with 320 and then primed it, and I think we're close to being done. I'll give it one more scuff up, of course, before it gets the paint on it, because you can't paint directly over this without giving it another scuff. So we'll do that, and then we'll get off to the paint booth. So this is a second coat of the metallic red on the CB350F. And it's we're going to do one more coat, and then we'll see how the color matches. Yeah, that was definitely not going to be the same, but hopefully it'll be decent. And then I've got a little paint chip on the original tank that I'm just starting to blow in a little bit, just to see if I can get a decent way to patch that up. So we'll show you that. I'll come back in here, we'll get another shot of this after the clear coat goes on. So yeah, I'm just using the airbrush on this one. Got that paint chip. So on the paint chip repair there, we'll wet sand that tomorrow, knock the high off it. Okay, first coat of clear, and there's one little problem here. There seems to be some sort of strange inclusion in the paint there. It didn't show up when the primer was on it. See, it's right there. So unfortunately, that means I'm going to have to sand this back down again and blow that spot in, repair that, and then re-clear it. So what I'll do is I'll take this all back home tomorrow, because it all has to be wet sanded anyway before the decals go on. So I'll wet sand everything down in preparation for decals. I'll put the decals on this side ahead of time. This side will make the repair. I'll blow that back in a little spot, repaint it, clear the whole tank after I put the decals back on this side. So it'll basically be fix it, paint it, decal it, clear the whole tank. So that was, it is what it is. This is the way it goes sometimes, I guess. So yeah, other than that, it looks pretty decent. It's not the identical color, of course, but it looks okay. All right, there's the second coat of clear. This is just in here out of the way while that clear coat spot dries. And as I said, we'll just knock that down tomorrow. We'll tape everything off around it because this clear from the original factory clear is very, very thin. And when I sand that down, wet sand it, I don't want to blow through this clear coat. So that can sit in here and dry. And then, as I said, once this is all dried off, I can see what sort of repair that I need to do on that before the clear coat goes on over top for the decals and the graphics. And the decals are basically identical to that. So when you look at it in this light, it's not a bad match. But I think, as I said to my buddy, I think this color being the original, it should stay original as possible. I don't feel comfortable with the idea of just, you know, sanding this down and painting it just because it's not perfect. You kind of lose a bit of the patina and the character of an original paint job. So there we go. So the tank is back home, and now I can clearly see that this is not kind of an inclusion in the paint that was underneath. This is something that got stuck in the clear coat. And that's kind of perplexing because how something that big got stuck in the clear coat. So it seems to be sitting on top. It's kind of raised there. I can kind of catch my finger on it, but strange. Anyway, I have to wet sand the whole tank anyway before the decals go on. So we'll see if that comes off. If it comes off when I sand it, does it come off clean, or does it leave a kind of a dark mark in there? I mean, if it is a piece of trash in the clear coat, I might get lucky. But if it is something, a problem with the paint underneath where it's kind of raised the surface somehow, then it will have to be kind of blown back in. So we'll see what happens. There's another little piece of trash right here, which will get sanded out as well. But yeah, one there, but that'll come out, no problem. I'm not too worried about that. So all in all, the color looks quite nice. And aside from that, that's a bit annoying, but that stuff happens. But I can't live with that. I can't be sending it back looking like that. So one way or the other, we'll fix it. So I just popped these badges back on this one. Before I do the other one, I want to see if I can touch up the 350 there. You can see the paint is all kind of chipped off it, and I'm going to take some of my Tester's model paint here and see if I can mix up a blend that's pretty close. I did something here that looked like it would be quite close, but that was quite some time ago, so I'm going to have to try to recreate that. So a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red, and a tiny bit of black, and I got almost a perfect match there. So anywhere where I got a little bit of paint on the edge here, I'll just wipe that off, and she'll be good to go. There's the badges back on the side panels. Now before I put these fasteners back on, they kind of fit down in here. And I'm expecting a bit of a wrestling match to get these back on. They're not going to be easy to do. And this paint is still fairly fresh. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to still leave these for a couple more days to get even harder. And then I'll probably tape up this side of the panel so it can't get, I'll put a blanket down, but still the less opportunity to scratch that fresh paint, because they're gonna have to go kind of upside down like that while I do it. and yeah, I just don't want them getting all scuffed up. So I was hopeful when I saw the this kind of mark that was in the paint here, that it was just kind of something caught in the clear coat, and when I wet sand it to you know, before the decals go on, that it would just kind of disappear, and then I would be able to just clear coat it again. And my buddy, who is the professional painter, said no matter what that is, once you sand it out, you're going to end up with a black line in there. And of course he was right, because you know, he's got many years more experience than I do. But yep, there's basically a black line left in there, and I haven't been able to determine exactly what the issue was. If it was something in the clear coat, is it kind of an inclusion in the paint? I don't feel anything there at all. I mean, it looks like there's a crack, doesn't it? But so now I got to figure out whether I can't feel anything with my finger and nail. So I don't want to paint this again and have it reappear. So I have to find out from him whether or not am I better to kind of dig that out and fill it and sand it and then kind of blow this all in again, or will that just kind of blow over just fine? I don't know. So I'll discuss with him and see what he recommends. Okay, so there's the difference between when I did the clear coat and after I've sanded it with 600 wet in preparation for decals going on, and then the next 2 layers of clear coat. So the idea being that I kind of want to get rid of as much of any of the orange peely effect as I can, but I don't want to blow through the clear coat anywhere. So we're getting there. Get the first half of the tank done. So I'm just wet sanding this with 1500, and I've taped it off with fine line tape just so I don't inadvertently go into the OEM clear coat, which is pretty thin. So I'm going to use this G3 buffing compound. I got my multi-variable speed buffer here. This is the first time I've ever used this one. I've had it for a long time, but never really used it. I could use a foam pad, but I think this might be less aggressive, and I'm going to take it on the slowest speed possible. I don't want to burn through anything, especially because it's kind of on an edge there. So there we go. It's that's as good as I can get her. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just basically trimming the excess paper and pre-mask off, because otherwise it becomes very difficult to get accurate placement of the decal on the panel, no matter which one you're doing. So the next step is to basically tape the decals on kind of as close as I can get to where I want them to be. I'm going to start to just peel off this pre-mask, and again you kind of want to pull this stuff completely the opposite direction. sure I put this the right way around, so. I gotta cut the orange stripe off here and here, make sure they line up okay. And I'm also gonna cut off the white on a bit of an angle, just so it kind of gives it a little slightly nicer finish. All right, so that's the right side of the tank done, and then I will do the other side at the paint booth. All right, so we blew in that spot here that had the mark on it with some fresh paint. That seems to have dealt with that issue. And we've got both sides striped up, and now I'm going to do some clear coat. They are with 2 more coats of clear on there, and yeah, the tank looks beautiful. Very happy with that. And that paint blemish that was right in here is completely gone, which is nice. Well, the badges are back on. Cap is back on. I used my chain riveting tool to reset and re-rivet these pins that I drove out. So yeah, she looks great. Looks really nice. Check a look at this side. Super happy with how this came out. See you just saw the before and after video footage of this this tank, so yeah, this is like night and day. Very pleased with that. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.